My name is Josiah Wagner, and I am currently studying at the University of Toledo. I have a background in environmental science, and I'm getting my master's in public health. And this semester, I actually signed up for a medical anthropology course. I wasn't sure what to expect when I was taking the course, but I was encouraged that it would be really fun, and the description looked very interesting. When I got into the course, it was actually much more enjoyable than I thought. My professor here, Professor Mitras, is here with his wife. She's also Professor Mitras, and I was very inspired by what she had to share. She shared specifically on bacteria and the importance of bacteria in our environment and in our health, because really, like what fermented foods is, what it really boils down to is bacteria. So if you could understand the role that bacteria plays in our environment and in our health, it just gives you a bigger picture of what you're doing with something so simple as fermented food. So tons of benefits to kombucha, from detoxification, joint support, rebuild your gut, and a whole host of things. Me personally, I like drinking it for helping my gut, because I feel like a lot of food doesn't really sit in my stomach anymore. It helps break them down. And then also I love drinking it after a workout, because it just makes you feel really good and breaks down all that lactic acid that your body can build up, so you recover faster. And then I also prefer drinking it in the morning time and in the afternoon, because it just gives me a boost and remineralizes my body rather than depleting it and crashing from coffee. So when you start introducing kombucha into your diet, first you will experience a lot of things. You may want to be close to a bathroom the first couple times, because you will get some turbulence, because the acid from the kombucha is going to break down all the sludge that's been built up in your intestines. And then it's also going to replenish your body with the good bacteria that we heard about earlier from Professor Mitras. So basically, kombucha is a super elixir, some like to call it, that is loaded with your bacteria, your good bacteria, your probiotics, and your enzymes. So it helps, your question earlier was, how can I replenish that mucosal lining? So there's a couple things that you can do. One is incorporating fermented foods to help flood your body with the good bacteria. And if you look throughout cultures, a lot of cultures that are really healthy, they eat a lot of fermented foods, like especially Japanese culture, so they keep their good bacteria happy. And so kombucha is one of the things to help that. I know kombucha has been becoming really popular in recent years here in America. You see many different brands, popular ones like GT, that you see a lot of times. It's becoming like really trendy. You see a lot of like hipsters drinking it or something like that, hippies. But it's something that I hope you guys will all enjoy. So I'm gonna go over the procedure real quick. So it's actually really simple. All it is your tea, your sugar, and then some kombucha starter, and then a SCOBY. That's all you need. This is super easy. If any of you guys have taken a chemistry course, or if you haven't, that's okay. This is easier than that. So what I like to do is I actually brewed up a double recipe. So I made about a 2-gallon recipe. I'm going to be handing out papers for a 1-gallon recipe, so you basically just double all that. So for 1 gallon, you do about 3.5 quarts of water. So I doubled that, and then you can add either your loose leaf tea, which I prefer, or you can do your tea bags. So when it comes to tea, the teas that you want to use are primarily your black tea. You can use green tea, and you can use, this is white tea, and then you can use green tea. The tea is really, really important in regards to your kombucha, because the tea is what actually provides the nutrients for your SCOBY. And SCOBY is just an acronym for symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast. So this is what grows in your kombucha that keeps the bad bacteria out and ferments the good bacteria. So the black tea is considered the most nutritionally dense for your kombucha. Now, white tea and green tea are okay, but if you're just starting, I'm going to recommend you start out with the black tea because it gives you more room for messing up. So I had to make this about 6 times before I got comfortable with it. I kept throwing it out and throwing it out and throwing it out because every time I'd see something weird on my SCOBY, I'd be like, that doesn't look normal, that's scary. So I'd throw it out and then I had to remake it several times. So my advice is start with the black tea. So I started with my tea, and actually one thing to help me save time is because you'll brew your tea and then you'll want it to cool down to room temperature before you do any of the other steps. So one thing that I do is I'll brew my tea at night and then let it cool while I sleep and then mix the rest up. Yeah.
What type of water do you use?
I prefer purified water. You will also want to pay attention to your water too. That's another good point. So because you don't want water that has fluorine and chlorine in it, because that can really damage the integrity of your SCOBY. And who knows what else we have in our Toledo water. So, you know, like pharmaceutical drugs and microcystine. So I prefer your purified, yes.
Well, what about well water? I'm not a Toledo resident. I'm not worried about that.
You should be cool. I don't have any experience with using well water, so I mean, as long as there's no chlorine and fluoride in there.
Well, currently I use the zero water to get drinking water for myself. They can set for themselves, I don't care. But me, I drink the zero water filter. So would the zero water be fine?
Yeah,
so
that should
to
be.
Add pink Himalayan salt to re-add some minerals.
Yeah, and I'll talk about remineralizing it too as well. So yeah, that would be perfect. Yeah, and if you don't have like a good source of water in your house, or there's a couple places that you can get good water from. You can get reverse osmosis water from like your Kroger's or any health food stores around here. Like there's Bassett's, there's Claudia's, there's Phoenix Food Co-op. All those places are great places for getting your purified water, because that is another, if you're gonna make this, you might as well make it right. Like, that's just the way I treat it, is you wanna make it right. And then same thing with teas. I like to go with your organic teas and primarily your loose leaf teas, because a lot of pesticides are used in the tea bag teas. And I don't wanna throw any pesticides in my drink. If I'm gonna spend time to make this, I'm gonna use good quality products. And loose leaf you can buy for pretty cheap. Another good selection of your loose leaves are, you know, your Phoenix Food Co-op, your Claudia's, and your Bassett's. They have really, really nice selection of teas. And then if you want to buy in bigger bulks, you can always buy on Amazon. I mean, it's really up to you. So I brewed up my tea overnight, and then I let it cool. And so then it's cool enough for me today. Megan, can you help me a second? So then I'm gonna strain it. You just make sure to strain it. And then I got this 2-gallon jug because you want to use glass. You don't want to use any metals or plastic. It's okay when we're filtering it because it's metal, because we haven't added any acidic base to it yet. So the only time you use a metal filter is when you're filtering out your loose leaf product from your brewed tea, because of the acidic properties. It will leach in metals and it will leach in plastics, which again, you don't want to add. And then this container was like $11 at Walmart, so pretty cheap. So then you want to just strain the tea. And I actually used a different combination than what I normally have, because I primarily brew with black tea, but I decided to get a little adventurous, and I did half and half of white and black, so just something different. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So then at this point, for every 1 gallon of kombucha that you're going to brew, you're going to add 1 cup of sugar. And sugar's totally fine, because sugar is just the fuel for the reaction. So when the kombucha is done, all the sugar gets eaten up by the good bacteria. So that's just the fuel, so you don't have to worry about any sugar left in your product. So, and I like to get organic sugar because, again, sugar is so massively produced that they do use a lot of pesticides in it. And you can get a huge bag like this at Costco for like $7. So it's really not that expensive when you compare the price of buying kombucha on a regular basis, because a bottle like this, the store is $4. Like, that's not cool. I'm a poor college student, so to make all this, in the end, it's much cheaper. So now that we added our sugar, you just want to stir it up till it dissolves. And then at this point, this is where you can add some more minerals to your kombucha. So you can actually add I like to add your trace minerals back into it. So you can get these at like any health food store or online. So I like to add your trace minerals. So I'll add like 20 drops of trace minerals. And then I also had to add something that's called fulvic acid. Fulvic acid also helps break down a lot of the stuff that's in your gut. So it just adds another variety of minerals to your body. So I like adding that in too. And then if you also want to increase the probiotic count within your kombucha, I also like to add probiotics as well too, because if you ever go to a health food store, probiotics are pretty expensive to buy. I mean, a bottle like this can be $50, a bottle like this can be $30. But what you can do is you can actually just take one of your probiotics, and this probiotic, so another tricky thing to do is like know how to read your labels right. Like you can say like 5,000 billion probiotics in here, and like what does that mean? So this one says 1 billion, but that's not what you want to pay attention to. It's actually the label underneath, and it's actually 16 strains. So some probiotics could say like 1 billion, 100 billion on them, but it could be like 2 strains. And the thing that you want is variety. Variety is key to health. It's key to being in homeostasis. So this one has 16 strains, so that's a pretty high count of different probiotics that you can add in there. So then you just literally need to buy a bottle once, and then you just break open your probiotic capsule and add it in right there. So now you just increase the probiotics within your kombucha. And again, if you do that, you will feel it. And now, the final step is we're going to add some starter. So starter is basically, there's 2 ways that you can get starter. One, you can buy a good quality kombucha, and then you can just literally open it up, pour it in there. That's your starter. Then in 7 to 10 days, you're going to have another SCOBY form on top. If you don't have a SCOBY form on top, that means your kombucha is really not that good. It means it's not living. Life should equal multiplication. So I actually grew my first SCOBY, and by using my favorite kombucha, which is High Country, from the strains that it has in there. So then you'll just add that, and you can grow your own SCOBY. And then, or you could already have a batch that you made, take some and add it in. So each time you just want to save a little bit so you can always make more. So you don't ever have to buy it. So you just buy this once, $4, and then it's good to go forever. So then I'm just going to add a couple cups. So for every 1 gallon, you're going to add 16 ounces of your starter. And all these measurements don't have to be perfect, because you can play around with them, because it will change. So like if you add more sugar, for example, that's going to feed your reaction, and that's going to make it more of like a vinegar. So you can actually let this, what's called is like over ferment, to make a vinegar, and you can use your vinegar for tons of different things. One, you can use it for your salad dressings, to incorporate in salad dressings, or you could use it as a beauty product on your skin. It's actually great for cleaning your skin, so you can take this and use this on your skin as well too. So you can wash your hair with that. What?
Is that what you're telling us? Is how you got your nice skin?
I actually do use it, so it's great. So you can use it for multiple things. So then the last thing we got to add in here is our beautiful SCOBY. So then it's kind of messy. And then boom, just like that. And then all you want to do is cover it. There's a couple different things that you can use to cover it because it needs to breathe because it is a living organism. You can use paper towels, or you can take, I took an old t-shirt, cut a t-shirt, or you can take old bed sheets, or whatever you want, so, and cover it because it needs to breathe. And then you just want to store it in a darker area. You don't want it to get exposed to direct sunlight, and you don't want it to be in a place where it's going to get rustled a lot, where people are going to mess with it. So you want it to be in an area that you're also not going to forget about it though too. So it usually takes about 7 to 10 days for it to ferment. So on day 7, I would start tasting it to see where it's at, and you want to reach like a nice sweet to tartness, like sweet spot. And as you begin to ferment, you'll kind of get more of where that's at. So you just don't want it to taste like super sugary. That's the key. You want all the sugar to be eaten up because you want the highest amount of probiotics to be in here. So then after this ferments for 7 to 10 days, you move on to the bottling process. I'm just going to cover this like this. So then this is one that I've let ferment for 7 to 10 days, for 7 days actually. And see, this one has the nozzle on it, so if you want to buy something that has a little bit fancier, it just saves you a little bit of time, and it's a little less messy. This will cost you like $25 to get one with the nozzle on it. So really easy. This is actually the fun part, is when you start to bottle it. So I saved my old kombucha bottles, and you literally just, you want to fill it up almost to the top. And then if you like the natural flavor, you can just drink it as is. You don't have to do anything else to it, or you can add a bunch of flavors. And this is where you can get super creative with adding your flavors. So I, particularly me, I like to add like goji berries and ginger and a lot of dry herbs. Those are a lot of my favorite things. So I got some anise that I will add in there that gives it more of like a black licorice taste. Some mango. If you like it spicy, I got some like superpower turmeric extract that I use in it too. So you can make it spicy. You can add turmeric or cinnamon. The ginger I got chopped up, you can chop up some apples and cinnamon, add some apples and cinnamon in there. So then you'll just take like, so I'm going to take some pieces of ginger, just add it in there, and then again, it's all up to your preference how much you want to add, because you just got to develop a sense for taste, like what's really your taste. And I've seen people even add like basil. I've seen people juice basil and add basil to it. I haven't tried it myself, so I don't know how good that is, but you can add anything from like herbs to dried fruit to actually cut up fruit. The only warning that I'm going to say when adding fruit, especially if you cut it up, or you add like blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, which are fantastic in kombucha, but if I've seen people that juice them, and if you juice it, you got to think, okay, you just added a bunch of sugar to your kombucha, so you just gave it some rocket fuel. Because now that you added this, the good thing about the bottles that we raffled is because they're the flip top, you let it sit out at room temperature for about 1 to 2 days, and that's when you'll produce the natural carbonation. But if you have the sugar, I know people whose bottles have exploded. So it makes it really volatile. So if you're gonna do fruit, I would suggest putting it in a cooler, like in case it blows up on you. Like, that's not cool, waking up and hearing all this glass shatter. So I have heard people that happen. So that's why I stick with like your herbs, and I really don't add too many sweet things to mine because I don't want to have to clean up a mess afterwards, have my house smell like vinegar. Because when you do this, your room is already going to smell like vinegar. And you are going to attract flies, especially in the summertime, because fruit flies love this stuff. So you want to, that's another reason why you want to keep it covered, because if fruit flies get in there, they'll lay eggs in your SCOBY, and then you're done for. So that'll really hurt your SCOBY. So, and some other things that you can also add in is like chia seeds. You can add some chia seeds in there too, which are great. So now you've added some bulk to your kombucha. And that's pretty much it. It's really simple. Hope it was really comprehensible. And you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me or, yeah.
Did you, when you took the SCOBY out of the wood barrel, does that naturally form in there, you said?
Does the SCOBY naturally form?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like I'll
You
put...
took it out of the barrel and put it in there, but that would normally just form its own?
Yeah, it would normally form on its own, but if you have a SCOBY already, that helps a lot. So
you use like half of that amount and you just still multiply?
Yeah, so we're going to give you guys like a small SCOBY, and then when you put him in, if you get a barrel like this, when you put him in there, a full one will form, basically to whatever you have. So each time you make this, a new layer is going to form each time. So don't be scared if it starts growing. That's gonna happen.
Just saying, you can pick up my jar. I've got like 4 layers on it. I just brought it to
Oh,
show
okay,
you.
perfect.
Yeah, if you look at the little jars too, you'll see sort of some of the programs.
Yeah, some of them have 2 SCOBYs because the SCOBY is fallen to the side. So each time another SCOBY is gonna form. So the benefit of just like a thicker SCOBY is it will change your fermentation time, so it may speed up a little bit. But every 6 weeks, I always like to take the bottom layer out and get rid of it, just because it's like old and it just like doesn't look good. So you can either, you can compost it, you can throw it away, you can give it to a friend, teach them how to make kombucha, or you can dry it out and feed it to animals. It's really good for animals, I heard. I've seen people eat it before too. I'm not really into that. But if you're into that stuff, you can dry it up and eat it yourself too. So
what happens if you drink it and it's bad?
What do you mean?
What happens if like, your fruit flies lay eggs? It's all vinegary, right? Like it's not gonna be drinkable. Like it won't taste sweet if it's bad, right? It'll taste more like vinegar.
Just because it tastes more like vinegar doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's vinegar. That's it. Doesn't mean it's bad. Like if the SCOBY goes bad, like if you see mold form on top of your SCOBY, that's the only thing you have to worry about.
Isn't it mold itself?
No.
No, it's a fermentation.
No, it's yeast and bacteria. It's not the strain of mold. So no. But that's a good question. I've never really drank one that's bad. If you just think it's bad and you don't feel comfortable drinking it, don't drink it. Like
If you see like something like colorful, then you shouldn't drink it. It should usually be like a tan color. Yeah, but sometimes if it's like super on top, the top might dry a little bit, so it might look darkened. But
that's totally okay. Yeah, that's totally okay.
I will say there are quite a few groups on Facebook on fermentation and kombucha making and stuff that you can take a picture and be like, is this mold? Is this yeast? What's this crazy thing looking at me? And they will let you know, that they have experience. They can tell you that's totally normal. It's a yeast. That's fine. No, throw that away.
Yeah. So this is really, really hard to mess up, and it's really, really hard for it to go bad because there's so many things working in here to keep it good and to keep it healthy. So the balance of good to bad, it's really hard to upset that balance. So it's really, really hard. I haven't seen any that have gone moldy before on me ever. I mean, I was just scared in the beginning because it's just weird. But yeah, I've never had a bad batch. So again, if you get into the routine of making kombucha and then it does turn vinegary, you just make another batch. Like if it's like too vinegary, too much for you, you can still use that for your starter.
With the same SCOBY?
As long as the SCOBY's good. Yeah, as long as there's like...
If it goes vinegar, you can still use it.
Yeah, if it goes vinegar, you can still reuse the SCOBY as long as there's no mold on it. So then you can just, if you taste it and you be like, oh shoot, I let this ferment too long. Don't throw it out, just make a new batch and then start all over again until you get used to where you want it to be. So yeah.
Use the best or the over fermented for a starter.
Yeah, you can use the over fermented for a starter again. Like so, for example, if you have to go away for a while and you can't make kombucha, it's okay if you let it sit out and actually go to a vinegar and then come back to it. I've seen people come back to it like 3 months later and make kombucha again from it. You just might, if you want to slow down the process, the fermentation process, you just stick it in the fridge to cool it down because the cooling will slow down the fermentation process. So you want to keep it at like a stable temperature between like 70-75 because that's when it's going to ferment the best because it's at a regulated temperature. I've seen people who get like really into it and they want to ferment their kombucha within 3 days, so they'll stick a heating pad under there. But I don't have that much time to always make up a gallon of tea every 3 days. Usually for me, it works best on weekends, like a Saturday night, make it up Saturday night, put everything together Sunday morning, and then it's good to go. So.
You get something to drink all week.
And then you get something to drink all week. Yeah, once you get in the routine of it, you'll build up a reserve because you really want to start with like the 1 gallon portions until you get comfortable with your fermenting time and everything. And then after that, you can start with larger quantities. So like right now, I have usually like 6 gallons going because I feel pretty comfortable with it. But in the beginning, I only made a 1 gallon portion. But once you start drinking it, you'll be surprised at how fast you can go through it. Like I'll drink 1 or 2 of these a day. So
No more turbulence.
no more turbulence. My body has adapted. So
How long does it usually take for?
it all depends on the individual. So everybody's different.
Depending on how much microbial activity is already in your system.
Yeah.
If like you take it after an antibiotic, then you're gonna feel it. But if you already eat some stuff that might be a little fermenting, you're not gonna notice.
So like a couple success stories with kombucha is I had a roommate who had severe allergies every summer to pollen count, and he would be like, no, I'm fine, and he would be hacking at the same time he's telling me he's fine. Like, dude, you're not fine. And then one day, like the whole house got sick, we all got sick, and he drank kombucha the next day and he felt better like that. He's like, wow, I feel really good. So he's been drinking kombucha ever since, and I've seen his allergies literally cut in half. And then I worked with another kid who was an undergrad in environmental science who, when he got treated for something, he had a urinary infection. They gave him some antibiotics, and then he ended up with a lot of pain, stabbing pain in his gut. So we transitioned him into eating more fermented foods to help reestablish the good gut bacteria and also heal his gut as well too, and he's out of pain now too. So you'll notice a difference within the first couple weeks of really drinking something like this. So yeah. Any other questions, or do you guys just want to try some kombucha?